Finding a great camera under $300 is tough, but not impossible. We get a lot of questions from new creators looking for affordable gear, so today I'm testing out 5 different cameras that won't break the bank. Whether you are a vlogger, streamer, or just love creating videos, I'll walk you through each of the camera's strengths and weaknesses based on my hands-on experience. And by the end, I'll share which camera I think is the best option for different creators and why.
You gotta just press record.
Hey, what's up? Nate here with Think Media. Now, a quick side note before we begin, no company sent us out these cameras. This is my honest and unbiased review of each camera. However, if you want to check out the links in the description to current pricing and availability, we'll leave that down below. So with that out of the way, let's go ahead and dive into each camera. Now, the first camera on our list is actually a webcam. This is the OBSBOT Meet 2. Now, the reason I recommend a webcam, if you're just beginning and you want a plug and play solution, this is a great way to upgrade the image quality of your videos for streaming or Zoom calls. And really, a webcam is all you need just to get a little bit better image quality. The Meet 2 comes in a few different color options, so I like the white one for the clean look, but they also have some really fun colors, which just adds to the personality of this little camera. Now, one of the things I love about the Meet 2 is that it comes with everything you need to get started. We have the webcam, we have this little magnetic stand, which we can put on our laptop or a monitor. So this just kind of rests along top. We then take the USB-C and plug it into the back of the Meet 2. And then USB-C into the laptop. And then this just rests along top magnetically, so it just snaps right in. Once connected, you want to open up any recording program like QuickTime or OBS, and then you want to set the Meet 2 as your video source. Currently, right now, I'm using the built-in MacBook camera, so you can see what the image quality and also what the audio sounds like. We then want to go down here, turn on OBS Meet 2 Stream Camera, and then I'll also switch the microphone input. And already you can just see how much of a difference this webcam makes. I think the color, the contrast looks much better. We get a higher resolution, so things look more detailed. And again, the audio quality doesn't sound fantastic, but I highly recommend picking up an external microphone, plugging that into your laptop as well. So that way you have both great looking video and great sounding audio for your YouTube videos. There's plenty of great desk mics under $100. We'll link a few of our recommended mics in the description down below. The biggest reason why you might need a webcam is if you are looking for a simple setup that you can just leave and have it ready to go anytime you want to record a video. The OBSBOT Meet 2 comes at a price point of $129. And you get the benefit of recording in 4K. So it is a good step up from using your webcam, and you can use it basically whenever you need it. And if you are looking to get into streaming, then I highly recommend checking out today's sponsor, StreamYard. StreamYard is our go-to platform for streaming to YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and other platforms easily. StreamYard gives you the power to produce your own show at a high level. We like to use StreamYard if we are doing live coaching calls or bringing on special guests, doing interviews. They also have a super easy to use interface that allows you to add transitions, add your own branding, add lower thirds. StreamYard is a incredibly easy and useful tool. So if you want to get started, you can grab a free trial today at streamwiththink.com or click the link in the description. Now let's get on to the other cameras in our list. Next up, we have the DJI Osmo Action 4, which is currently on sale for $250. This is a great choice if you are doing travel, vlogging, sports, or any content where durability is key, because the DJI Osmo Action 4 is built like a tank. It's waterproof, drop resistant, and really ready for different shooting environments. Take a look at the body of the Osmo Action 4. We have a power button, which we can turn on for a quick start, and it boots up extremely quick. Down here, we have this little latch door, and if I open it up, we have a USB-C, which we can use for charging, but also we can use the Osmo Action 4 as a webcam. So this just doubles its functionality as both an action camera and a webcam, which is really cool. Along the bottom, we have this unique magnet latching system. So you get these little mounting plates that you can use to put onto the end of a tripod or different rigs. And this is super easy to use. All you gotta do is kind of line them up and then kind of push it in and it'll click. And then when you want to release it, you kind of push in on the sides and it pops off. This makes it super quick and easy to use. And again, if you're on the go, trying different setups, different rigs. This is very fun and useful. Moving on to the body, we have a record button up top, and on the side, we have our battery slot and where we put in our SD card. You wanna make sure you get a fast enough SD card. The one I'm using is made by Lexar, and I'll leave a link in the description to that, and that will make sure that you can record at all the different resolution and frame rates. Speaking of resolution and frame rates, there are a ton of different options. We can choose 4K 16:9, and we can go all the way up to 120 frames per second, which is, you know, plenty. That's incredible. We also have the ability to shoot in a 4:3 mode, and what this does is it's a slightly taller video, and this allows you to crop your video. Let's say if you want a horizontal video, you can actually easily convert it to a vertical. So I really like shooting in 4:3 so I can later reframe my shot. Another great feature of the Osmo Action 4 is rock steady, which is a form of digital stabilization. So oftentimes with little cameras, it can get very, very shaky, but this has some really impressive stabilization options to make sure that your videos look really smooth, whether you are vlogging or you're filming other objects. Really smooth things out, and it just looks really professional. I nearly forgot to mention one of the best features of the Osmo Action 4 is that you can connect a wireless microphone to the Osmo Action 4 without a receiver or anything like that. It connects directly to the camera, which is super convenient to make sure you get great sounding audio with your great looking video. So right now I'm just going to take the microphone with the little magnet mount, and you could just put the magnet underneath your shirt, clip it on, and right there, I have great sounding audio with the video. And one really cool feature about this microphone, and because it can connect, is if I click the little connect button, it actually stops recording. So super cool, I love that feature. I can actually press it again, start recording wirelessly. So that little package, it's a remote, it's a microphone. I mean, this is incredible. And turning our attention to the front of the camera, we actually have a little display that shows us an image of what's happening on screen so we can frame ourselves. We can also adjust the different settings from this little menu. This is so nice. I mean, the amount of times when you're trying to frame yourself with a camera that doesn't have a screen, it's very difficult. So having that reassurance and making sure that you're framed properly, you can adjust any settings you want without having to constantly flip to the back. Super convenient. If I had to really say anything about this camera, is that it is convenient and it just works. So we sing a lot of praises about the Osmo Action 4, but what are some of its trade-offs? Well, I think it's important to mention that you are getting an action camera. So if you're trying to get that cinematic shallow depth of field, this is not the camera for that. It kind of has that action camera look, that ultra wide feel. So you got to kind of know what you're getting with this camera. So overall, the Osmo Action 4 is a really robust, versatile option if you're filming outdoors, action, or you're vlogging, if you just really want a reliable setup. And of course, you can also just easily connect it to those microphones. That's a really cool feature that shouldn't be overlooked. The third camera option on our list is also made by DJI. It's the DJI Pocket 2. So the Pocket 3 is crazy popular right now. And honestly, I think the Pocket 2 does about 90% of what the Pocket 3 does, but at a much cheaper price point of $280. What makes this design of a camera so different compared to the other ones is its built-in gimbal. So if I turn my attention over to the side, we can actually turn it on and it will boot up. And this little camera is going to stabilize my camera movements. I'll go ahead and press record so we can see what it looks like. And as I move around, it's going to stabilize my camera movements. This is perfect if you are walking around. We see a lot of people use this for vlogging, but we can also just move this around, flip it, and see what I'm seeing and get some really cool moves, not only just walking, but really get some very dynamic, smooth shots, which is so much fun. This camera records 4K up to 60 frames per second, and the image quality is really impressive for such a compact camera. The colors look very vibrant, very crisp, and I just love the versatility of this camera. One of my favorite features is the time-lapse feature, and if you scroll over, you can see that there's motion lapse. Now, this is a feature that's going to create a time-lapse, but the camera is going to move as it's capturing. And I love this feature because it does it all in camera for me. I've actually used this on professional commercials where I needed a time lapse. I can have it recording in the background while I'm getting other footage. And this is such a convenient and easy to use system. Now there are a couple of drawbacks with the Osmo Pocket 2. Number one is that the screen is really tiny, which makes it tricky for adjusting my settings. You do get used to it, but I also find like it's so small, sometimes you're unsure if you're properly framed or just getting a good sense of what your image quality looks like. To get around this, you could connect the Pocket 2 to your phone if you want a bigger display. However, I just like the convenience of a smaller camera. The other downside is because it is still a small camera, you're not gonna have great low light performance, and typically anything indoors doesn't look as good compared to when you're shooting outside. I think it all boils down to how you plan to use this. If you're outside, you're travel, vlogging, this is going to excel perfectly in that scenario. Now, like I mentioned earlier, the Pocket 2 does about 90% of what the Pocket 3 does. Where the newer camera excels at is it does have a much larger display. It's a bigger sensor, gonna have better image quality. You can also connect DJI's new wireless mics to the Pocket 3 versus this one only has the older DJI mic that can connect to it. So if you have a couple $100, it might be worth considering the Pocket 3. But if you are on a tight budget, honestly, the Pocket 2 does really good. The next camera on this list isn't for everybody, but I do think there's a select few that would really love this camera. It's the Insta360 Go 2, which comes at a price point of $297. And look at this tiny little thing. If I pop out the camera itself, you can see just how small and unique this little camera is. Along the back here, we have a magnetic mount, which we can put in the case, which will charge the camera. Down here, we have a few different control options. We can connect to the camera and we can adjust our settings, press record from here. And along the back here, we have these tiny little tripod feet that can flip out. And if I prop this up, I can kind of just set it down and it's a little tripod. So I can kind of set this down anywhere, which is super cool. This is what the image quality looks like on the Insta360 Go 2. Now, one of the really cool features about this camera is even if I kind of rotate this camera, it's going to stabilize itself. So this is really cool for different mounting positions, but what this really makes it ideal for is for POV shots. So by removing the camera from the case, we can just open this up and we have several different mounts that comes included with the Insta360 Go 2. First off, we have this little mount, and if I can plop this in, it kind of serves as a little tripod if you just need to set it down, and like so, and you can articulate it to different angles like that. But you could also just kind of use it as a grip if you're filming around. You have a nice little wrist strap, so make sure that you don't so you don't drop it like that. And yeah, you can go around filming like this or filming yourself, and it just really makes it easy and convenient to hold onto because this thing is super tiny. And where this wrist strap connects to this little cover, we can slide this off to reveal a sticky pad. So we can mount this to a surface for a semi-permanent fix. I could see this easily mounting to a car if you want to record vlogs as you drive. So super cool little feature with that. On the other mounts, we have a magnetic mount, a little necklace wrap. So I can take this, I can put it on my shirt, and just to show you, I can just magnetically attach it to my necklace, or you could fixate this underneath your shirt. So I could just drop that down, and very low profile, I have a camera mounted to my shirt. And this is cool if you are wanting to show what you're doing kind of in a hands-free way. So I can show off a little product like this. Let's take a look at that. So this is really cool if you're maybe out on the go, you're doing street photography, or maybe you're going to thrift stores and you want to film yourself. This is a really fun little mount here. Next up, we have this little hat mount. And with this, you can slide it onto the brim of any hat. And then we can attach our Insta360 Go 2. So I can pop it off. And again, it just attaches with magnets right there. Boom. So the idea of mounting a camera to a hat or on your body really kind of frees up what you can do with videos. So if you are doing behind the scenes content, or you just want to be hands-free, maybe film with your family, but not really worry about trying to mess with a camera, this is a really cool, fun camera that you can easily showcase different perspectives, which is so much fun. As I mentioned earlier, this camera really isn't for everyone. There are some pretty significant downsides. Number one, there is no onboard screen on the device itself, so you really do have to rely on using the phone if you're previewing a shot. Another drawback to this camera is it has fixed internal memory that you can't expand. So you're limited to the 32 or the 64 gigabyte model. So I have the 32 gigabytes, but really you only have about 28 gigabytes of usable storage for your video clips. And honestly, that's around an hour before it fills up. With those downsides and the fact that it does overheat over about 10 minutes of recording, definitely limits the use case of this camera. However, using this camera has been a lot of fun. It's really ideal for those specific scenarios when you want to film hands-free or get POV shots. It's a fun tool, but it's not a full replacement for a more standard camera. If some of those downsides concern you, I would keep my eye out on some of the newer models of this camera. There is the Insta360 Go 3, which is on B&H right now for $289. So potentially during this holiday season, you might actually get a newer, better camera and still be under $300. And then we have the Canon R100, which comes at a price point of $299 for the body only. This is the only mirrorless camera in this price range that I found that was under $300. So the difference a mirrorless style camera is going to give you is, number one, you're going to get a much larger sensor, an APS-C size sensor. So you're going to get better low light performance. You're going to get that shallow depth of field that you can kind of see in this shot right here. So having a bigger sensor typically leads to better image quality. The biggest advantage this camera has over the other cameras in this list is, number one, the ability to change out lenses. So right now I have a Canon 16mm lens. I could swap this out for a zoom lens or a tighter lens. So really you have a lot of flexibility on what kinds of images and videos you want to achieve. Taking a look at the body of the Canon R100, first off, I will mention that the build quality was really impressive. Despite it being Canon's cheapest mirrorless camera, it does feel really well built. We also really get cool things like a flash for taking photos. We have a viewfinder that works for both photo and video. The screen quality looks really good. Everything is really easy to adjust, as well as the screen can get pretty bright, which is great if you are shooting outdoors. Now taking a look at the video quality coming from this camera, we have the ability to shoot at 1080p up to 60 frames per second. There is also a 4K mode which we could use. However, there is some downsides within 4K, which we'll get to later. One thing that makes it easier to shoot content with is its ability to autofocus during video. And here we have Canon's dual pixel autofocus, which tracks faces extremely well. So if you're doing talkie head or if you're vlogging, this is going to keep up with you. Now, there are a few cons I want to mention about the R100, particularly if you are shooting video, because there could be some potential deal breakers. Number one is the screen on the back is fixed, meaning you can't actually flip it out. So anytime you are trying to frame yourself, if you're in front of the camera, well, you can't guarantee that you are either in focus or you're framed properly or you're properly exposed. So really that made it a huge limitation in terms of if you plan to use this to film YouTube videos of yourself if you're in front of the camera. Now, another downside of this camera is it's $300 for just the body only. So you don't have a lens that comes with it at that price point. You can purchase the kit lens for an extra $150. So that kind of puts us over that $300 budget. And you have to consider picking up lenses, which are honestly pretty expensive in and of themselves. Another downside of this camera is you're kind of limited to shooting 1080p video. Yes, there is a 4K mode, but that lack of autofocus performance and that crop just really limits the capabilities of this camera. And that is something to think about, taking into consideration that these other cameras on this list can shoot over 1080p and most of them shoot 4K video. So really the video quality, while yes, you get nice things like a shallow depth of field, it does look relatively soft, especially for today. Where the Canon R100 really stands out is more so to think of it as a photography camera first. It is great at taking photos, really sharp, really crisp. It's been a fantastic photography experience. On the other hand, when it comes to shooting video, I would not recommend this as my first camera if I only wanted to do video. You do have the benefit of really learning manual controls over your camera, and really that's an invaluable skill of itself, is to learn how to properly use the camera, learn exposure, framing, this is a great tool to get started with photography or video, but then later down the road, upgrade your camera for a little bit better image quality. Now that we looked at 5 cameras under $300, here are my recommendations based off the type of creator you are. Number 1, if you are a vlogger and like to go on adventures, then the DJI Pocket 2 is a fantastic choice for anyone who's on the go. It's small, compact, that built-in gimbal just gives you such smooth cinematic looking footage. I think the image quality looks really good in this small camera design. Now, if you're a creator who wants to get really unique and creative shots and also wants a hands-free solution, obviously the Insta360 Go 2 is the camera for you. Honestly, I had so much fun using this camera and getting really creative and unique angles that I wouldn't really be able to get with some of these other cameras. And while it is more of a specialty camera, it does offer a lot of creative potential, and it's compact and it's easy to carry with you wherever you go. Now, if streaming is your main goal, you just need an easy way to improve your webcam setup, the Meet 2 is an excellent option. It's very straightforward, easy to set up, and with a dedicated webcam like this, you can leave it set up and always ready to go anytime you do streaming or hop on a Zoom call. This really allows you to get better video quality without a lot of extra equipment or a steep learning curve. Now, after personally using and testing out all these cameras, there is one camera that I would pick up within this price range. I honestly think it is the best balance between different shooting styles, and that would be the DJI Osmo Action. Honestly, this is such an easy to use camera. You have the front facing screen to make sure you're properly framed up, but also the image quality is just fantastic. I also like the fact that you can use this as a webcam, you can use it as an action camera, and I think that makes an excellent gift option as it's intuitive and beginner friendly. Now, if you have a little bit more money to spend, I'd consider looking at DJI Osmo's Action 5, which was released earlier this year. It's priced around $350, and it offers improved image quality and more advanced features and settings. And so for a little bit extra, you get an upgraded experience, especially if you're looking to get the most out of a small, compact camera. But I'd love to know which camera you would decide to pick up. And if you want to get the best pricing and availability, go ahead and click the links in the description down below and we'll keep those updated for you. And if you only have a budget of $300, it is worth considering that instead of buying a camera, that you could invest in some accessories to upgrade the video quality of your smartphone. If that sounds interesting to you, you can check out this video right here of a list of our favorite phone accessories for video right here.